This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Okay, so I am currently in the frozen tundra of Newfoundland working on a video project, hence the frostbite marks here on my face. But I wanted to jump on here quickly to discuss an AI audio tool that has been absolutely blowing my mind every time I use it. Now, over the past couple of months, there's been a lot of these AI-powered tools popping up from ChatGPT and other chatbots, as well as AI art. But this tool made by Adobe is something that I could actually see myself using on a daily basis to make the videos that I create even better, which is what has me so excited about it. So since I've first started using this tool, things have changed just a little bit. As of its current state, this is actually just a web app, so it lives right within your browser. But I could see this eventually being its own Adobe app, or I could see it being built into Premiere or Audition, so Adobe apps that are already standing. Regardless, in order to use this tool, you'll have to log into your Adobe account. Now you'll notice that in the top left corner, it says that this is Adobe Podcast Beta, so it still is in beta form, and it also has a little note here stating that its original name was Project Shasta, which could have just been some internal code name. Regardless, this is the current interface, and while it might change, and while it might be in a beta, it still is super powerful. Now here's the thing, in a typical tutorial video, I would walk you through step by step how to complete a certain task, but in the case of Adobe AI Audio Fix, it's one of the easiest things I've ever done. You literally open up the web page, you drag your audio file into that web page, allow it to then process your audio, and then download that enhanced audio. That is it. That's all that you have to do. Now, I should mention that in its current state, you can only upload individual files that are either 1 hour or 1 gigabyte in size. So if you have a super massive audio file that you need to enhance, I'd recommend bringing it into some sort of video editor or audio editor, chopping it up into individual clips or individual pieces that are 1 hour or 1 gigabyte per file, and then upload them to be enhanced individually. That's kind of just the one thing you've got to do right now with the current state of this software. So because the usage of this tool is so easy, I figured the majority of this video would be me sharing some different examples with you to see how exactly this can clean up the audio in your videos. And I've got 5 different examples of kind of different scenarios I've found myself in over the past couple of months using this tool, where I found it to be very helpful. So the first example that I have to share with you here is probably the one that kind of blew my mind the most. You'll notice that in this interview clip for a client of mine in Philadelphia, they wanted to stand outside, which really wouldn't be the end of the world, but they wanted to stand in front of a moving train because they wanted to show this piece of equipment behind the person being interviewed. So let's listen to the original audio clip right out of my DJI Mic that's put underneath of his shirt there, and then let's listen to the enhanced audio from Adobe AI.
So we have 12 to 14 high reaches consisting from 45s all the way up to 85 footers, Z booms and straight booms. So we have 12 to 14 high reaches consisting from 45s all the way up to 85 footers, Z booms and straight booms.
That clip right there instantly sold me on this audio fix tool. I was able to remove the background noise, remove the train running instantly without having to do anything. And from there, I can make small tweaks to the audio so that it sounded better, in my opinion, for my own personal taste. But again, all the heavy lifting was done for me by literally dragging it into a web page, waiting for it to process, and then downloading that audio. Super impressive. Now, moving on to the next example, this is a clip sent to me by my friend Ken down in Florida. He's going around and kind of showing his setup, but listen to the background. You'll notice that he has all these 3D printers running, and then listen to what it sounds like after we run it through Adobe AI Audio Fix.
But something you can do to make it look interesting with not having a lot there is to shoot this way. Look how interesting that looks. Now, I don't do it because I have an interesting backdrop, but something you can do to make it look interesting with not having a lot there is to shoot this way. Look how interesting that looks. Now, I don't do it because I have an interesting backdrop.
Now, while I don't think that is as impressive as the first clip I shared with you, I still think that it's great that it could isolate his voice despite all the background noise going on and make it sound like it was coming from a dedicated studio microphone, even though it was just him standing behind his iPhone. Now, moving on to our next example, it's another client shoot for a buddy of mine. His name is Brian. He's a real estate agent here in the Philadelphia and South Jersey area. But regardless, we were doing this driving tour video where not only was he talking outside, but he was also talking inside of the car using different microphones, and I needed to match that audio between the 2 microphones.
The reason for this video is to show you a little bit of insight around the nuances that help make this town so special.
Haddonfield was founded in the late 1800s. It's full of rich history and beautiful architecture.
The reason for this video is to show you a little bit of insight around the nuances that help make this town so special.
Haddonfield was founded in the late 1800s. It's full of rich history and beautiful architecture.
So the reason I found that most impressive is because you had a totally different acoustic environment from outside to inside his car, and you're using two completely different types of mics and brands of mics, and Adobe AI Audio Fix made it sound like one consistent audio source, which is something that would probably take me minutes, tens of minutes to do, but it did it with the click of a button or the drag of a mouse. Now, before we jump into our final two examples, let's hear a quick word from this video sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is a platform that I've personally been using before I even started posting videos here to my YouTube channel 6 years ago. I first built my portfolio using Squarespace's platform because of their templates that are stylish, functional, and easy to customize. I didn't need to learn how to code, I didn't need any previous experience, and I didn't need to spend an exorbitant amount of money to hire someone to build it from scratch. Instead, I was able to work at my own pace, share my best photographs, update it frequently, and customize my template to be exactly the way I wanted. In my case, I have a simple design with a black background and minimal text to keep the focus on the images. Squarespace goes even deeper with detailed analytics so I can see who's looking at my website. They've got integrated SEO tools so that I can get my work seen by more people online, and if I choose to do so, I can start an online store right within Squarespace's platform to sell prints, presets, or anything else photography related. So a special thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and helping me display my work online for over half a decade. Okay, moving on to our next example here, our fourth example. It's something I probably wouldn't use Adobe AI Audio Fix on, and that is a clip where I'm sitting inside of my studio where I already have good audio. For more specialized missions though, DJI has developed the H20N. It uses the H20 platform, taking the same camera housing and swapping out the RGB sensors for starlight night vision sensors. For more specialized missions though, DJI has developed the H20N. It uses the H20 platform, taking the same camera housing and swapping out the RGB sensors for starlight night vision sensors. So I think that the jury is still out on that one. I'm not sure if I'd be using Adobe AI Audio Fix on audio clips that have been recorded in, say, a well soundproofed room, or that are, say, coming from a good microphone with no background noise. I just don't think that there's that much of a difference. Sure, it might have made my voice sound a little bit more full, but personally, I think I'd actually prefer to hear my voice coming like in a natural way from that space that I'm in. Okay, now moving on to our final clip here. Speaking of clip, it's clipping audio, right? So what happens if you, say, put a microphone way too close to somebody's mouth, say a lapel mic, and it starts to clip? Will Adobe AI Audio Fix that?
Now, something that can often happen is clipping in audio, where you might put the mic a little bit too close to somebody's mouth. So I wonder, if I put a lav mic like the DJI mic too close to somebody's mouth and you have all this clipping throughout your audio file, could you remove it with Adobe AI Audio? Now, something that can often happen is clipping in audio, where you might put the mic a little bit too close to somebody's mouth. So I wonder, if I put a lav mic like the DJI mic too close to somebody's mouth and you have all this clipping throughout your audio file, could you remove it with Adobe AI Audio?
Now, was it perfect? No, it definitely wasn't, but I do think it made a difference. It definitely helped me. It definitely put that audio into a better spot than it was when it came directly out of my microphone. Also, that was a very extreme case. Like, I was trying to make my DJI mic clip, and let's say you're doing an interview and you've got to deal with a time where your mic gets a little bit hot because the person that's on camera gets a little bit excited. I think that Adobe AI Audio Fix is going to do a really good job at bringing those levels down and matching them across your entire interview, no matter how loud that person gets on camera. Now, I do want to end this video off with a couple of points that I've written down here on my phone about Adobe AI Audio Fix, some things that I've kind of picked up along my time using it so that you can make the best use of this tool. So the first of which is my workflow, right? So I've got a couple of different workflows, but the first thing I should mention is that if you've got audio baked directly into your video file, you can't upload your video file. You've got to separate the audio. So rather than separating the audio and then uploading them individually from all of your clips, what I'd like to do is edit my entire video without touching my audio, right? So I'll edit everything from the color grade to the music to the video, right? The titles, everything about my video gets edited, and then I export just the audio, just the voice from my video, bring that into Adobe AI Audio enhance the audio, and then bring it back into my editing software, Final Cut Pro, and replace the audio, right? So there's just one audio file that I've got to upload to that Adobe AI Audio Enhance webpage. Now, this of course brings up new challenges that you have to face using a brand new tool. The biggest challenge that I faced is you can't have multiple people talking over each other, right? So let's say you've got a podcast, you've got 3 people talking, each of them have their own individual audio file. If you're trying to do my method of exporting one audio file, bring that into Adobe AI Audio Enhance, and then bring that back into into your podcast file or your video file, you're going to have a rough time because you've got people talking over each other. So you want to try to make sure that you have individual audio clips for each person speaking and make sure that it is like as close to the mouth as possible and not picking up anybody else's voice. To give you an example as to why this is so important, I'm going to go back to this clip right here, this interview I did outside. Now, as I mentioned, it does take out all that background noise, but also if it picks up anybody else's voice, it's going to elevate that to make sure it's at the proper level, which is really impressive, but also kind of annoying. So for example, with this interview, I had that DJI mic tucked under the interviewee's shirt. So he was speaking, but the person that was 10 feet away from the camera asking the questions also had their voice enhanced so that you could hear them almost perfectly.
With scissor lifts mixed in there as well. There are some not only genies, but there's some JLGs in our fleet.
Okay. And what is your major challenge in managing the maintenance and inspections?
With scissor lifts mixed in there as well. There are some not only genies, but there's some JLGs in our fleet.
Okay. And what is your major challenge in managing the maintenance and inspections?
Now this brings us to our next point, right? Of course, you were able to hear that person asking the questions crystal clear, but it was a little bit robotic. It's almost like the Adobe AI audio tool was trying to rebuild their voice and it just sounded a little bit robotic. And that's what brings me kind of to my next workflow piece here, where I almost use both versions of the audio straight from the camera or straight from the microphone, as well as from Adobe AI Audio Fix. So rather than just using the audio right from Adobe, I actually kind of mix and blend the audio that I edit myself and then Adobe's AI audio, and it kind of gives you this perfect blend of like a nice, deep, rich audio file from that person speaking and one that sounds a little bit natural. And for my final point here, there's a lot of growth in the works. This is in beta. This should really honestly be called an alpha because of how stripped down and how little of features there are available. I mean, literally you just drag the audio in and then it spits it out and that's all you have, right? I could see this in the future being able to batch process audio files, right? I could see being able to individually select people's voices based on their pitch and based on the tone of their voice so that that issue of everybody's voice being as loud as possible is gone, right? So there's so much growth to be had here in this space. And I think what's really interesting is that me personally, I thought, hey, my job is potentially at risk here because if this tool comes along and this makes recording audio even easier, then what do people need me to shoot video for them, right? They can just throw the audio in here and it's going to sound perfect, but that pretty much went immediately out the wayside because now after having used it, I feel so much more comfortable going onto a shoot and knowing that I can capture good audio. Like this is a tool that allows me to create better videos. It allows me to do things I normally wouldn't do. Like when I went into that shoot and I put that person directly in front of the train, I knew in my mind, hey, I'm going to use Adobe AI Audio Fix and this is going to be perfect. I can deliver the exact thing I want to my client and I know that the software is going to have my back. So I cannot wait to see where this goes in the future. I can't wait to see what's built upon it from here, like on the video side and even the photography side as well. So please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below on Adobe AI Audio Fix. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.